Hello and welcome to Words of Wisdom. Our topic for today is who should be accountable for our history. I've met people who have serious mental issues because of things which happened to their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, or even great-great-grandparents. There's nothing wrong with following one's bloodline or even finding great achievements or terrible atrocities which may have happened to distant relatives. However, if finding these things affects who you are and unbalances your emotional and mental being, you have some serious problems. I can understand how many have issues dealing with their own injustices. I can think of many injustices I've experienced myself growing up. Fortunately, I have learned to get over them. My parents who raised me survived the Second World War in an occupied country. Not all of their relatives survived, but they have gotten over it and actually now even have German friends. As I said earlier, I can understand how many have issues dealing with their own injustices. But if you're taking on the injustices of past generations, you will need some serious counseling. It is bad enough to be a victim of your own circumstances, but to be the victim of your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, I would say you are creating your own problems. Guess what? If we have not endured injustices ourselves, I would not doubt if we search history far enough, we will all find terrible atrocities which happened to distant relatives. It is good to learn from the past. History can provide much knowledge, but it should not be used to make one a victim or provide an opportunity to extort others because of nationality, religions, race, or color. We are in the 21st century. We have the freedom, opportunity, and equal rights to surpass our previous generations. Time to move forward. Are you responsible for a crime or action your parents, grandparents, or even great-grandparents committed? Are you responsible for the actions of a previous government, nations, religions, or past generations? If the answer is yes, you are enslaved. Some people feel we are born to take on the debts of our previous generations. Some people believe they can create debts for their future generations. These are usually the people who live frivolously, spending without responsibility. I don't think many people are capable of understanding both sides to this debate. Think of it this way. Are we responsible to create wealth for our future generations? Some people, they work hard. They believe that I don't mind self-sacrificing so that my children can have more than I have, or so that my children's children can get further ahead than me. So they self-sacrifice. But there are actually those who believe we should create mass debt for our future generations. Spend as much as we can, with no consideration for who will be responsible or accountable for our debt. Think hard about these choices. Right now, our country is creating mass debt for our future generations. Is it right to enslave our future generations into the debt we are creating for them? This is like our generation committing a crime, expecting our future generation to pay the price. For me, this is unethical, corrupt, and totally selfish. This really has me thinking. We have a society who wants everything now, with no consideration to who will be left paying the price. This is absurd to me, It's like I'm going to commit a crime and have my children or grandchildren responsible for my actions. The big question is, are we responsible for our future generations, or are they responsible for us? Sure, when our children are below the age of adulthood, we are responsible for them. If our adult children commit a crime, should we do the time for them? If we commit a crime, should our children do the time for us? Now apply that thought through generations, race, religion, that you may share with others. How many generations of Japanese should be held accountable for Pearl Harbor? How many generations of Americans should be held accountable for Hiroshima? Throughout history, every country and pretty much every religion is responsible for atrocities. Should all Muslims be held accountable for 9/11? If so, for how many hundreds of years should they be held accountable? It is my opinion we are responsible for ourselves. Whoever commits a crime or atrocity should be held accountable. If it's a government, we vote them out, and if we can make those individuals accountable for their actions, even better. Throughout history, every government or ruler has misrepresented itself and lied to its people. Just think about all the times we have been promised to pay down the deficit or reduce our taxes. There is never accountability for the promises and lies a government has made. The only accountability they have is being voted out for the next group to break their promises. I did not want to go into politics here, but it is a good analogy. Who should be responsible for the actions of a ruling party? Should all who voted Liberal be accountable for their misrepresentation, broken promises, and lies? Should the whole nation be responsible for the actions of one ruling party? People may reconsider the seriousness of voting if they are held accountable for who they vote in. There is a lot to consider thinking about who should be accountable for our history. There really is nothing we can do to change the past. Those responsible are no longer with us. Are Italians responsible for the actions of Julius Caesar? Are all Mongolians responsible for the actions of Genghis Khan? Are all Germans responsible for Hitler's actions? The list goes on and is not limited to nationality or religion. Could you imagine being related to anyone who was a murderer? I'm not limiting this to who currently committed a crime. I mean, go back hundreds of years. Then if you can't find someone you're related to, just find someone your same nationality, religion, or color. And then you can be responsible for them. In closing, thinking about this rationally, it is absurd to make people accountable for things they have nothing to do with. I believe people should be accountable for their personal past actions as well as their future actions. The government should be held to the same standard. Prime Minister Trudeau should be responsible for his actions both personally and while governing the country. The same for Prime Minister Harper, Martin, Chrétien, Campbell, Mulroney, etc. We should not hold a conservative government accountable for the Liberals' actions and vice versa. Just as we should not be held accountable for the present and past actions of those we share the same color, religion, sex, or any other group affiliation. Well, that's my words of wisdom today on the topic of who should be accountable for our history. Hope it gives you something to think about. Please select like, give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and click the little notification bell to be notified of my next video. Thanks again. Have a great day.